Okay. Here we go. I need to ask questions of you. Keloth makes a noise of disgust. Those animancers did this to him. You can see what comes of their meddling. You're afraid. Do certain visitors make you afraid? He looks at you with uncertainty. Slowly and tenderly, he steps closer to the front of his cell, and as he does so, for the first time, you can perceive his soul within your ken. It is misshapen, as though maimed by some jagged instrument, and large expanses of it have been gouged out entirely. Feel no barriers of resistance. If you wanted to, you could look further into Graham's soul. You project out toward the maimed soul in front of you, merging with it, its confusion and fear becoming yours as it whisks you into the depths. You're in your cell. A key turns. The door creaks open on neglected hinges. Though thoughts come to you in waves, incomplete, broken, fearful. Standing at the door is a rotund, balding man. His upper teeth and pointy nose remind you of a rat. He beckons, apologetic. You don't want to go. Anything else? In your mind is a single word, and the word is no, but it dissolves before it reaches your lips. You press against the back wall concerned. You cry out. In darkness, you fight against unseen restraints. You cannot move your arms or legs. The man walks into the room carrying a lit candle, its meager flame casting long shadows across books and machinery. Straps behind your arms and legs. Cold metal circumscribes the crown of your head and the breadth of your chest. The man is sorry. He is in need of raw materials. They dismantled his work and he needs another source. He needs to show them he was right. He thanks you. Then he turns a knob and you feel yourself begin to crack from within, and you can feel pieces of you torn away, like having your insides chewed by a horde of rats. And you are screaming a scream you can barely hear. Another night, heavy footsteps outside your door are coming for you. You look through a slit in your door to the flesh giant, the artificial being, just outside but facing left, facing the end of the hall. The boy there. The boy looks with interest at the giant, then collapses to the floor like a shed snakeskin. The giant convulses for a moment, then rights itself, turns away, and leaves. Decoupled from Graham's soul. Graham looks at you, still wild-eyed, but somehow more present. He nods at you, then walks back to the end of his cell. Oh. Aha! So with that, let's go get Eder real quick before we continue. Let's get Eder before we continue. All right. Because now Eder should have a lot more experience. He should be either caught up or now ahead of us in XP, which kind of I would kind of prefer, actually. Yeah, I would kind of prefer that.
Gods keep you.
Show me your menu.
I will wait in the place of your strength.
Hey,
There we go.
sure.
There we go. Now we're all set. All right, later, bud. Do 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 boop. Okay. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and see how much XP Eder has now. All right, he's not too far behind now. Yeah, he's not too far behind now, which is great. Still kind of probably would have preferred him being ahead in XP, but hey, that's okay. A willowed adolescent boy stands in the center of his cell. Gawkish and stoop-shouldered, he stares straight ahead. The occasional blink is only movement, and it's unclear whether he registers your presence at all behind his glassy, dull-like eyes. In this state, the barriers between your soul and his are thin and porous, easily bypassed. Boom. Close your eyes and edge forward toward the boy's soul, and as you near, a sudden whatever that word is. Good God. Sometimes I run into words where it's just like, what? Anyways, malaise comes over you. You are cold and warm all at once, sweating and shivering and straining for breath, as you did on the caravan journey. The soul you approach is the wrong one, a parasitic plant that strangles its host. It is predatory and pitiless, and you have crossed paths with it before. Too late does it occur to you to retract, and already you feel yourself plunging into some interminable abyss of thought and memory. You are standing in a cell now, the same cell in the sanitarium. The halls are moonlit and empty, and you are waiting. At the far end of the ward, the door opens, revealing a flesh golem in silhouette beneath the stone archway. It makes its usual rounds, the same stops every time. The misbegotten child of despondent creators. When the construct is close, you coil yourself up and spring forward, passing out of the boy's body as though it were a membrane. You can sense his body behind you collapsing to the floor, a puppet whose strings are cut. You are rushing toward the golem now, bodiless as a gust of wind. Quickly, you think to yourself quickly, and you feel the strength hemorrhaging from your soul as you dart towards the makeshift abomination. You pass into the golem's shell and overtake the soul implanted within. Encircling it, suppressing it, and contained in this new vessel, you are strong again. You step heavy-footed down corridors unheeded by the other constructs, and scrutinized only by the weary, untrustworthy eyes of the mad, coming at last to an office piled with books and scribbled papers and the perverse implants of animancy. You set your oversized hands upon a large machine, a nest of globes and tubes of coils in the center of the room, and go to work, bending wires and unsettling alignments. Oh, is this what happened? Is this why Azo got in trouble? Your surroundings are pulled as past you, or perhaps you are pulled past them. and they dissolve into a blur. And when they settle into place again, you are outside on a clear day, standing in front of a crowd stacked high above you on the tiered seats of an amphitheater. You are acting for the crowd, standing deliberately still, but this is no play. Balding man with rodent-like features is strapping you to a machine, the one you had tampered with. You see your arms for the first time, short and fleshy, unmistakably those of a little girl. But this body is not truly yours. Your mind still holds the same determination, the same heartedness as before. The body itself is cold and vacuous, unlike the others. This one has no soul of its own. The man breaks and the crowd applauds with an enthusiasm worthy of a hero's entrance. Bear witness, he says, and he pulls a lever. The machine shivers and sparks, and a bead of sweat rolls down the side of the man's brow. The crowd's apprehensions quickly gives way to awe as the crystal globe fills with a radiant mist that casts the entire theater aglow. He opens a valve and the glow crawls through a tube along a length of copper wiring that runs to a set of electrodes beneath your armpits. You feel nothing when it reaches you, as it should be. For you have been leading his work astray periodically for some time, altering notes and settings and playing puppeteer for Hollowborn. But you make it look how people would expect it to look when a body is infused with a soul. In a moment, the machine goes dark and the man unstraps you, eyeing you with a scientist's concern. He looks back at the crowd. Behold, he says, but there is obvious hesitation in his voice. Slowly, you take a plodding step forward, then another and another. You look up at the man, giving him the eye contact of which no Hollowborn is capable of, and the crowd gasps. The man looks relieved. How do you feel, he asks, at a volume meant for the crowd. And this is the moment. At the top of your lungs, you let out a piercing shriek. The man comes towards you, his hands outstretched, but you run the other way back to the machine. With all your strength, you drive your head into the crystal globe, and it shatters, streaking your head with warm blood. You drive your head into the furnace of the machine again and again, drawing panic screams from the crowd. And by the time the man reaches you, your body has already ceased proper function and merely twitches on the cold ground. Satisfied, you depart the corpse in search of another unsuspected host. Who could put their faith in animancy now? You are pulled again from your surroundings, transcending the boundaries of memories and lifetimes, deeper and deeper past betrayals and murders and lies upon the lies that form the thick webbing of plots beyond mortal comprehension. You settle at last on a room you have seen before, expansive, with a tall device encasing on an Adrith monolith at its center. The room is filled with people, and the people look at the device. You are yanked suddenly back to reality at the once catatonic boy in the cell is looking directly at you, appraising, calculating. There is no mistaking now that it is the soul of the man who caused your awakening that gazes out from the burrowed husk. A watcher. Wow. Good God. I believe we share a common past. I'm just looking for some answers. Was that so? He makes no effort to hide his disinterest, but he continues to search your eyes. He makes a slight grunting noise, and his eyes soften for an instant, and it seems, for that moment, that he recognizes you. He opens his mouth to speak, then seems to think better of what he was about to say. His jaw tightens. I know your look, your hunger. Hunger for answers that elude you. It gnaws at your soul. It usurps your reason for being. You are like everyone. I will help you let go. He dodges backward with a starting glance, putting himself out of reach. Once his face, there is no malice. No, on his face, there is no malice. Only the dispassion of a farmer putting down a sick animal. Then suddenly, he slumps forward. Oh dear. Oh, this is turning out to be not particularly great. Oh, right. Oh god, get down here. Oh, okay. Guess that works. Well, that turned out great now, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Doot, 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 doot.
Hey.
Right.
Bye.
Great, now are we like fighting the whole area? What have you done? You've been experimenting on patients against their wills, mingling their souls. I have witnessed it with my own eyes. Azo's face drains of what little color it had. How could you possibly... Look, it had to be done. At Thelmore and the others, they took everything from me. Everything when I was this close. I had to know. I had to know where I failed and why. Imagine the value if I'd succeeded. I had something that could make all those hollow infants into something like a real person. And with a few more patrons and a few years research, who knows? No one has come that close with the legacy. It's why I have to continue. Why I have to risk everything here working in secret. It's why you have to lie to Ethelmore for me. Tell him you've cleared me of all suspicions. I'm going to expose you. We'll see.
I trust that you'll do what's right for...
The same fools responsible for the cruel salvation thought they'd solved the problem too. A few years of study in a research lab doesn't give someone the moral authority to tinker with souls. Nope. Oh no. Oh, this like complete infamy came really bad. All right, I guess have at thee.
Let's go.
Well, I guess get him too. And to make sure, is there anything in here?
Nice and quiet.
No. Do 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 do. Well. What the blazes happened down there? You were given permission to ask questions. Um. Ooh. It's complicated. A patient of yours, a scrim, was working for the leaden key only without knowing it. You finish your explanation, and Thelma breaks his silence. I have read accounts of people in history who would do what you describe. The accounts are few and brief and never reliable. Same go as far as to suggest that they are all the same person. If truly such a person was here among us, plotting our ruin, or that I had embodied again and could be of some real use in our time of need, I fear what the future may hold for this place. I am grateful you were able to dispatch the threat before there was loss of innocent life. We very nearly had another scandal on our hands. What of Anzo? What part did his experience play in this catastrophe? If I hadn't come along, Anzo's experiments would have eventually resulted in another scandal. At the worst possible time, say no more. And Kadmo Anzo is no longer welcome at this facility. All right. Done. We got it. Yes, we got it. All right. And she is almost leveled up. Okay, so next up, the Hermit of Hadrit House. Talk to Lady Webb at Hadrit House. I have been summoned to Hadrit House in Brackenbury to meet with Lady Webb. Okay. This ought to be interesting. Boulder Road Man. As you near the apparition, you are overcome suddenly by a powerful anxiety that sits like a stone in your stomach. The feeling is not quite real. The recollection of an emotion rather than the emotion itself. It wrenches your insides nevertheless. The apparition's brow is tensed, a look of concern plain on its face.
The other missionaries say you have been neglectful of your duties.
My mind has been elsewhere.
Oh? And what troubles you?
The pain in your stomach deepens, and you feel for a moment as though you're about to be sick. Forgive me, Eminence. I wish to leave the order. The man folds his fingers together and presses them to his mouth. Thoughtful.
You have been an apt student, and your convictions have inspired those around you. May I ask what has changed to make you feel this way?
The people we intended to convert, they committed unspeakable acts, sacrifices, mutilations. The apparition exhales slowly and its lips press together, a sympathetic report in its eyes. Places its hand on your shoulder.
These are the ways of the heathen world.
Surely the gods would do better to destroy us all and start anew.
Perhaps they would. It may come to that one day. This is why we must not fail. The heathens are beyond the gods' reach. They do not know better. We are tasked with delivering them to the gods, so that the gods may heal their souls.
Is such thing possible?
I have seen it with my own eyes. You will see it too, if you choose to remain. There is no greater calling than the one we have chosen. Neither words, nor wealth, nor battle will end this suffering. Only the gods. Will you give them that chance?
The knot in your stomach seems to loosen all at once, and the anxiety is replaced with something else entirely, something warm and soothing, and it is something you know you can never be happy. As this vision fades, you start to become cognizant of the many odd looks aimed in your direction. Your last response echoes in your mind. Okay.
Welcome.
Excuse me, but I've been looking for you. You're the one who lived at the Curse on Heritage Hill. My lady, who wishes to remain anonymous, has entrusted me with bringing you this pistol. It belonged to a dear friend of hers who was lost to the curse. For your part in reclaiming Heritage Hill, my lady wishes you to have it. Here, may it serve you well in battle. Thank you. You're quite welcome. You have gained an item, Saint Garam's spark added to inventory. Now I must be off. Farewell. Interesting. Oh, nope. Oh god, did I really go through that entire... I did. Oh dear, whoops. Oh, what is that necklace anyways? What is it? +3 Constitution. Okay, so that's like probably pretty good. Lady, well, we'll see you now. This woman clutches a thick stack of parchment with spindly, wrinkled fingers, their flesh stretched thin to near translucence with extreme age. A gossamer veil over pale blue veins, ink splotches and candle burns dot and strip her hands like a quilt patterned after some great indescribable truth. She does not look up from her reading.
So, the messenger conveyed my summons. A miracle that would make the reincarnation of Aothis look like a child's cantrip, surely. It doesn't draw the most inspired minds, messaging. They failed me so many times of late, I nearly sent a cipher after you instead. So this is the Watcher who took over Cad Noir. Oh, don't look so surprised. It isn't an attractive expression. I wouldn't be where I am for long if I let details like that escape me.
This is exactly why I would picture Alos's mother to be. This is exactly what I would picture Alos's mother to be like.
Since then, as I understand it, you entered a quarantine district that is absolutely off limits to all civilians and somehow managed to walk back out with your life. What could possibly have been on your mind to make you do such a thing?
Actually, I did that like twice. I'm investigating a strange group.
Strange does not begin to describe them. The practices of the Leaden Key defy all reason. You're not the only one with an interest in their recent activities. I've lost 4 ciphers this year alone trying to get someone inside their ranks. As it is, we only have our suspicions about who is in the group and what they intend, which I suppose means we have much in common with them. I asked you here because I wanted to know what your interest was in all of this. I thought perhaps we might help each other. Why are you looking for the Leaden Key?
I ran across a man in one of the ruins. It's important that I find him again. She crosses her eyes and the lids flicker. Then her face goes still and her mouth parts, still more than a sliver, and her hand briefly drops them, spilling some of her parchment to the ground. The pages wafting around her legs like the leaves of a dying tree. Her fleshy eyelids peel back and her gaze is immediately upon you.
The gods are cruel, I'm afraid. The man you seek is Theos Ix Arcanon, Grand Master of the Leaden Key. One of the most elusive and dangerous men Aora has ever known.
How do you know I seek Theos?
Because you have seen his face, and that makes it a simple matter for me to see it. You even happened to catch him in his ceremonial garb, it seems. Must have been a special occasion.
What can you tell me about Theos?
More than most, though very few would know so much as his name. And there is no way of knowing how much of what I've read is true. The Leaden Key dates back more than 2,000 years. If rumors are to be believed, Theos was the one who created it. What scraps of evidence exist suggest that he has died many times, only to be reborn each time exactly the same man. Awakened during adolescence with all the knowledge and experience of all his lifetimes. The plots he orchestrates sometimes take hundreds of years to bear fruit. Needless to say, this is not the natural order of things. But he is said to be one of Woodica's favored, and that old bat was never one to let rules get in the way of favoritism. That may also explain another supposed gift of his. His body is no boundary to his soul, and he is known to take possession of others, if their souls are weak enough. Often it is for elaborate deceptions, but sometimes he simply forces them to kill themselves. He is not known for his generous supply of pity. He is also not one to show himself in any but their most critical matters. If he has directly involved himself in whatever the group plots now, it may be your only chance to find him. And once you do find him, if you can find him, I would not hold my hopes too high if I were you. He is a driven, single-minded man. He will not have the slightest concern for your problems.
How do you know so much about Theos?
The same way I come by all my knowledge. Exhaustive research, spying, bribery, perhaps some less savory measures. Whatever the knowledge demands, I pay in full. There is nothing of greater value. Unfortunately, with Theos, there is also nothing more scarce. He has covered his tracks far too well. His manipulations of the course of history are lost to time now, though I believe they were many.
What else is there to know about the Leaden Key?
Precious little, I'm afraid. You may know much of it already. No one member knows the identity of more than a handful of other members. They are kept in the dark of missions they are not involved in, or sometimes of those they are involved in. They exist to hide secrets they themselves don't know, if you can imagine how gullible someone must be for that to appeal. Despite that, they are very good at what they do, owing much to their founder, who will take matters into his own hands when necessary, and he does not fail.
What do you want from me?
Keep me informed. The Leaden Key has been busy lately, and that is distressing news. I can only guess as to what they intend. You seem to have a knack for turning the stones they've crawled beneath. Keep turning them. Dunreed Row will not stop you. Whatever it is they're up to, figuring it out will be of great use to both of us. In your case, it will surely point you to Theos. In return, I will share our knowledge with you as we learn it, and provide you with what assistance I can.